Okay, now we've worked through Chapter 10 in learning all of these new options, and now we're ready to create a pivot table and marvel at our results. So the first thing that we want to do is go up to Power Pivot and select Manage. You can see that we have the tables that we just worked with. We took Excel tables, added them to Power Pivot, and now we're able to work with that information, and we're going to create a pivot table. So the first thing that we want to do is we're going to click anywhere in our Sheet 1 table. We're going to go up to Pivot Table, and then we have an option of different pivot table, pivot chart, etc. For this we want just a single pivot table. So we're going to click on Pivot Table. We're going to click OK. You'll see over in our pivot table fields we've worked to add our information to the data model, and we now have calendar and Sheet 1 options available to us. For this example, we're going to use weekday name, and then in Sheet 1 we want to use sales. And you can see that we now have each day of the week with their sum of sales and then our grand total. So next we want to add in a slicer. So we're going to go up to Analyze, we're going to click Insert Slicer, and for this we're going to look at a weekday. We're going to use weekday name. Select OK. You can see that we now can choose which day of the week or multiple days of the week that we want to look at. I'm going to first do a little formatting. I'm going to select 7 columns for our slicer. I'm going to widen it, shorten it. Okay, so now we want to look at Sunday, where we can easily now just see Sunday, and the grand total obviously is just for Sunday since we're only looking at one day. We can do that with any day of the week. If we want to look at the weekend sales, we can use Control, click on Saturday and Sunday. We can see the total for each of those days along with the grand total. If we want to look at the days of the week and their total, we can click on Monday, slide across to Friday while we're holding down the mouse key, and we now see Monday through Friday's totals along with the grand total. So that would be one option that we would have once we've built our pivot table. We can look at the slicers by the weekday. We can also go to Power Pivot and Manage. We can click on Calendar, and we can work in our calendar table. We can go up to Pivot Table. Again, we're going to choose a single pivot table. Click OK. Now we again have our options for calendar and Sheet 1. For this one we want to look at date in calendar and sales in Sheet 1. We're going to move date over to rows simply because it's easier to look at. And then all of the dates and their sales are listed. We're going to go up to Analyze, and we're going to insert a slicer, and we're going to look at the year. Click OK, and we can now go in and look at 2014 sales, or we can look at just 2015. So that is the pivot table built and able to look at our data in whatever fashion we want.